I'm driving the golf cart talking restraining orders and family law. You're watching Unbillable. A couple weeks ago, I had the pleasure of attending SEMA, the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association convention. Now, this is like, I don't know, the aftermarket automotive convention. I think you have to be in the industry. I shouldn't say you think. You have to be in the industry in order to attend. I attended with a client of mine who's gracious enough to invite me, and it takes place in Vegas, so that's about all I can say about it. But I can't tell you one other little story. A friend of mine told me about this chambermaid, like the person that cleans the room in your hotel, how she was cleaning the room for a multi-millionaire and came across a soiled condom and then used that and its contents to impregnate herself, and was recently awarded a ton of money to take care of the child. And this can't be right. This can't be true. I kind of know too much. Now, I should make the caveat and note for 1 second. In Las Vegas, I'm nothing. I'm just a regular person like you, avid, maybe kind of mediocre gambler, avid show and food eater, but that's about it. I'm not a lawyer there. Lawyers are state by state. I'm a California attorney, not a Nevada anything, really. But I know enough to know that this, chambermaid story can't be true, and I'm happy to report we busted out our Google and were able to use the internet to prove that this is just a made-up story. This is not true. And the funny thing is, you don't really need to make up stories about the family law system. Real life is kind of crazy enough as it is. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt my own episode of Unbillable for all you Unbillies to remind you of a couple things. Of course, subscribe if you haven't, and if you want a shirt, an Unbillable t-shirt, hit us up in the DMs on Instagram. We'll see you over there. How crazy is real life? Real life is so crazy that instead of, shooting this in the 911 like we usually do, we're using the golf cart. It's also crazy enough for me to kind of tell you this story. There are pieces and tools in the legal system, some to be used as shields, some to be used as swords. You even see the gesture, shield to protect yourself, sword to kind of poke the other side. Well, one of these tools is a restraining order. And recently, and kind of more and more I should say, and maybe not even that recently, kind of generally now, the restraining order, something that was generally thought of as a shield, designed to be a shield, they're kind of rolling that shield up and using it as a sword, and now they're poking with it. So the restraining order, especially in the family law context, is being used in a manner that, frankly, I just don't think it's been designed to do, and that's why I'm making this vlog, so we can talk about maybe doing something to correct this. And what I'm talking about is, well, first I should say, anybody who's actually been threatened or been physically abused or has a real threat of violence, this is not you that I'm talking about. A restraining order is properly used to protect somebody who has an authentic fear of violence, a real concern for their own safety. But again, in a family law setting, it's being used for more than just that reason. In a family law setting, it's being used to kind of get an upper hand when it comes to custody of the children, and I'll explain. If you can obtain a restraining order against the other parent, the spouse, whoever that person might be, then that person loses their custody right. They lose their entire right to custody. So even in a situation where it might have been a 50-50 split of custody, which is kind of generally the preferred option, if you will, of the court, when there's a restraining order involved, it becomes 100% zero. The restrained party has no right to child custody whatsoever. And this doesn't just remove the child from that person's custody, it does something more than that. I think we'd all understand why the court is removing the children from the custody of the restrained person. I think that makes sense. But an angle of this that most people don't consider is, now that that person has zero custody and the other parent has 100%, it creates an imbalance which the court system uses money to rectify. That's right, not only do you lose your right to spend time with the children, you have to pay the other spouse, you have to pay the other parent, I should say, money to make up for that 50% differentiator between how much time you spend with the children and how much time they spend with the children. And so now what you're seeing is, in a multitude, maybe even the majority of family law cases, one party or another is attempting to obtain a restraining order. And are they using it 100% because they have some fear of physical violence or some fear associated with let's just say, the intent of the restraining order? Unfortunately, no. They're not using it as a shield to protect themselves. They're using it as a sword to poke the other side. And nobody should like that. What you should like is you should like this episode. And of course, to keep up with us, you should watch another episode of Unbillable by clicking this episode right down there. Does it look like I'm actually driving it like paying attention? Yeah. No. All right, you ready? Are you filming?